beautiful. August 15th, 2025. Today's an exciting day. Yes, this is my excited face and excited voice because I brought the J-5 home. See it there behind me? See? In this video, episode 13, we're going to be talking about the tail surfaces, the completion of all the tail surfaces, and I got a couple unorthodox ways of laying out the end number on the rudder, and also some rotation type fixtures for the tail surfaces. So enjoy. Since last episode, I have started the engine. The engine hadn't started in about 30 years, so I have a bunch of content that I'm putting together into a video. So that'll be episode 14. I made a decision early on in the project that I was going to replace the tail surfaces with new ones. I bought an extra set of used ones, and none of them were really anywhere near airworthy, and would not have been a process of replacing one tube. It would have been a lot of different tubes. I would have had to jig these things up and fixture them, and then weld in the new parts. So just really in the effort to save a little bit of time, I decided to buy new ones. So I was very happy with the parts that I got from Univair. As I've talked about in some of the other videos, I'm using the AirTech process, which is Seconite based. This process is an awful lot like covering a model airplane, which I've covered many. I like to pull the material as tight as possible before doping it down to the frame, and then so there's not as much shrinkage you have to do with the iron in the end. Right here I'm cutting off some excess so it allows it to form around the trailing edge of this elevator nicely. The iron helps to shrink it, helps to pull it in close, helps to activate the dope. So when you're done doing this ironing around the edge, you really have a pretty nice strong joint. The heat from the iron activates the dope, and you get a preliminary bond, but to really get a good airworthy bond, you have to follow up with a couple coats of thin dope spread on with a paintbrush. The highly calibrated meat probe. You shrink the fabric in 3 different steps. One is at 250 degrees, next one is at 300, and then the final shrink is at 350 degrees. You get a nice drumming sound. This small piece of cardboard you're about to see is to keep the tape from sticking to the fabric before it shrinks. So it allows the tape to shrink, to pull around the corner, but not to stick to the fabric until I'm ready for it to stick. rip stitching gets done on the tail surfaces. Helps to keep the fabric stuck to the structure when you're maneuvering the airplane. Drain grommets are applied with a highly calibrated pencil and artist paintbrush. Last step in the covering process. The rudder is the only part that has any wiring internal to it. You can see this drain hole here. The drain hole, I actually burned the center out with a wood burning kit, and what it does is it nicely seals up the edge of the fabric. Spent a bit of time setting up the spray booth so I can manipulate the parts as I was spraying them, which pays dividends when you're spraying and you're all suited up. It's hard to move stuff around. And for me, it's easy to get runs if I don't have those options. At this point, the horizontal stabilizer and the elevators are complete, leaving the rudder. The rudder still has to be masked out for the aircraft identifier number. So that's the next part of this project once this paint cures. So the next problem I had was, where do I place the numbers on the rudder? So what I did is I found a film from 1943 where they're actually manufacturing these Piper J5s. I got a good view of the rudder, so I took a screenshot of it and I scaled it on my phone there with you can see a ruler scale, and found out that the numbers and letters were actually 4 inches tall rather than 3 inches tall. So I went to my local print master and I had them make this adhesive masking material. I had some black in the spray gun. I sprayed some of the inspection covers where they overlap onto the end numbers on the wings, so everything matches.